You know, this song has like made me change the way I think about my life, actually, and my art. And I think that was kind of the journey I was going on a little bit when writing it.
So there's loads of bits, but just these sort of textures.
And it's funny because we're literally running around the studio and just like doing the worst sounds.
Just playing stuff. Trying to find the ugliest thing.
Here's an example. This is like a drum loop, but it's actually made out of pretty much all of those files. It's using this weird plugin called Concatenator, and you can see that we've loaded all these MS-20 phaser, Vermona, Prophet stuff.
Everyone thinks I've got a problem since everyone knows my name.
So, writing after having that nice night out and lots of thought-provoking conversation, when we get to the second half of the song, we have this special guest, David Cronenberg, the renowned film director, and he says some stuff that relates directly to what you're talking about in the first half of the song. So how did that come about, and how did you set that up?
I kind of remembered that I had this really interesting conversation with David when I met him in Toronto in October of last year, and we were talking about a lot of things, but one thing that we spoke about quite in depth was this moment in his life where he had been walking home and he had collapsed on the pavement, and he was sort of telling me quite intricately about that experience and how he had felt and what he was thinking about his body. And, you know, I was asking him about, you know, the other things that he was thinking about in that moment where perhaps it could have all been over. You know, I was asking him, like, now, naively so, I think, about like, oh, were you thinking about, you know, your art and your work? And, you know, he was like, no, like, of course not. And we sort of began to, you know, have this conversation. And then when we wrote this song, I kind of thought, oh, he would actually be somebody really interesting to talk about this idea of nothing lasting forever, nobody lasting forever. Obviously, it's such a part of his, you know, language as a filmmaker as well. Like, he always kind of goes back to this phrase, body is reality, you know, and I think that's really interesting in the context of this song. So I basically flew to Toronto and I sat down with him in a studio and we recorded a conversation that was, I think, maybe like an hour or an hour and a half long. And I had kind of written questions before and went a little bit off piece. And I was sort of talking with Alex and Finn before about, you know, things that could be helpful versus not helpful. But he really got it. Like, I didn't have to. I mean, he's so amazing. He really sort of understood it. He was very, very chill. And actually, the thing that's the craziest thing was when I sent it to Alex and Finn. And I was kind of like, you know, there's so much, like, I think this part's cool. That I had marked as I was going in the recording. I was like texting the engineer being like, mark this. But we marked so much of it because so much of it was good. It was like probably like 100 marks.
Super useful, yeah.
Sorry about that. But they really found, you know, they sort of like found the pieces. And when they sent me back the original, the first sort of like rough cut of the comp of his talking, I was like, did you guys tune this? Because he was like perfect, but it sounded unbelievably natural.
We actually just dropped it in to the project and then we were listening to it, and then there was this one little phrase by complete chance that just was so rhythmic and felt like it was said over the music.
Hear me assuring you that oblivion is freedom. They are dead, they are gone. No one lasts forever.
Yeah.
And so,
amazing.
You see, that was just by chance. That bit.
So you'd edited the conversation that Charli had, and then you just trying it out, put
Just-
that over
it's
the
really
music that you'd
simple.
already
We
created.
chopped
Yeah,
it,
as soon as
put
that
it
bit even
in.
came in that bit.
And we were both
They are
like,
dead, they are gone. They are not experiencing that.
and we were like,
And rhythmically as well. It's a
yeah,
it's
no,
both.
it's, no, it's so, it's,
Essentially.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
He really does.
And you can
Has
see
he
it.
got a
it
rap
stands out,
background?
though. Yeah, it stands out, and on that line as well. And I think you'd got him to maybe say "No one lasts forever" or
Yeah.
"Nothing lasts forever."
Yeah.
So then we were then playing with that, and that also just fit as well in that moment. But so that's what the loop then becomes.
Yeah, because it is amazing, because it seems to tie in so well with what you say in the first half of the song. The lyrics,
well,
and then
he essentially, I mean, and the way that you guys kind of, you know, arranged him as well, I feel like it's just like the perfect summary of ego death in a way that I could never do, you know. But I think it's just like, yeah, I don't know. I think it's just perfect to me. I don't think I could ever get there myself, probably because I'm still a bit too like in my own ego. But like, you know, he really, this song has like made me change the way I think about my life actually, and my art. And I think that was kind of the journey I was going on a little bit when writing it, you know, and the realization I was beginning to have. And then speaking to someone like David and having the guys like arrange him in that way, it just, yeah, I don't know. It's like made me feel a bit more free, I suppose, as a person, which is really nice, you know. And I think that's sort of, for me at least, the intention behind the song.
Yeah, oblivion is freedom.
Well, yeah, it's like my new catchphrase.
Yeah. Our partners at Tape It have just released their brand new DENOISER plugin. Nice. This is Tape It's new, fully automatic, studio-quality DENOISER. Drop it on any track and it lowers or completely removes the noise floor. It works on vocals, instruments, band recordings, podcasts, noisy neighbours, vacuum cleaners, and even long sessions with changing noise, all while keeping your recording sounding completely natural and artifact-free. Now available for use in any DAW and as a standalone desktop app. To find out more and to get a special launch month offer of 50% off, head to tape.it/denoiser and hear the difference for yourself. Are you nearly done?
To his voice, there's sort of this texture to his voice as well that I feel like is reflected in a lot of the sounds we chose already, which is quite cool. You know, like it's quite interesting. And then so Alex, do you want to maybe look at the bit which we loop?
There's a few cool bits, yeah. So it kind of holds on this last loop for quite a while, and we made it interesting in a couple of ways. But
they are dead, they are gone. No one lasts forever. They are dead, they are gone. No one lasts forever. They are dead, they are gone. No one lasts forever. They are dead.
So I won't play the whole thing, but keeps going. And yeah, the interesting thing about it, I think, is we talked about there being this loop. But when we were doing it at first, it felt a little bit too simplistic. And then we were like, oh, let's just do the Steve Reich tape loop thing.
You know, it's going to rain, it's going to rain.
Right, yeah,
it's slightly out of phase and therefore they drift over time.
Yeah, so as you jump forward, you start to hear...
No one lasts forever. They are dead. They are gone. No one lasts forever. They are dead.
They're gradually getting more and more out of phase. And actually, to really get it sounding right, we even did a sort of fake tape wobble. This thing kind of adds a bit of flutter just to one side of it, and they're lightly panned, and kind of without that, it felt very flat. But with this, we actually, it does have that feeling of something kind of unspooling. And of course, we have all these other. This is quite funny.
Yeah, this is fun.
So we have all these little sounds that are throughout the track. Like I said, we were sort of resampling ourselves, little bits like, right, or this bit, or this one. Little things like that, which I think is actually one of the synths with a thing on it. All these humming little bits and pieces. But if we look at Finn's screen, we just recorded how many?
We did about sort of 10, 15. What's that? 10? Yeah. So and
first time we've ever jammed.
Yeah, this is a very jam song for you guys.
Oh, when you hear the jam, you'll see what we get up to. But it's like. So this is me.
Detuning the guitar.
Alex is also, I think, playing with the plasma knobs, and I'm also detuning the guitar.
So it's the same rig we had for the riff, but just...
Yeah. But then you hear how just that snippet then actually shows up there. And then, but we did like a few other ones. There's more.
Wow. That's that one, yeah.
It's like being in Berkeley. But then there's the phaser microshift as well.
Yeah, so really pitched up.
These kind of details. But the one you can also hear that I think really stands out in this ending is, that one. That's something that keeps on coming in and out at the end throughout the thing, which is cool. Which is actually the PPG
as well, honestly. Yeah. Videodrome or
that's a really good point.
Exactly. It's almost sort of, that's true. Sort of quite French as well in some way. I don't know why. But then, there's what else? There's loads of bits. but just these sort of textures. But
and it's funny because we're literally running around the studio at as many things are plugged in as possible, and just like doing the worst sounds,
playing stuff, trying to find the ugliest things, and then tiny. But actually, then we did something kind of cool with the way the drums.
So this whole second half uses bits and pieces of this jam, which we'll now call it, and one tool I did to really kind of bring the most out of it, apart from just selecting and chopping, which felt a little bit predictable, but here's an example. This is like a drum loop, but it's actually made out of pretty much all of those files. It's using this weird plugin called Concatenator, and you can see that we've loaded all these MS-20 phaser, Vermona, Prophet stuff, and any audio file you throw underneath this will actually start just kind of finding tiny bits of all the samples that are similar in pitch, right? Or so if I solo that, it's like catching, and it's weird because it's a very like digital new plugin, but we're doing it with all these other things, and I could drag another piece of audio, you'll see it kind of, it'll just find. And it's has that sort of radio dial feeling as well, but it was a nice way of just actually being able to like sample tons of stuff in this really ambiguous, uncanny way that I tend to like. So it's a kind of a mix of really selecting little regions and letting some bits be kind of chaotic and random and kind of very like 3D. And even actually, I just remembered the beginning of the conversation that we have here. I was playing around with this, but I did want to. The full file we had Charli talking as well. We didn't really want to use that, isolating David, but there was something, I wanted to have a little bit of this ghost of Charli in there. And there's one that we kind of emphasize a little bit. If you see it around here.
At all. I thought about people, I thought about life.
You thought about people, so people in your life.
Yes, sure. Yeah. But and that's why
I'm sort of filtering it and crushing it a bit, but I don't know, just in the whole mix with all the other strange sounds that are kind of radio filmish.
I thought about people, I thought about life.
Something about that just feels really emotional to me as well. And we'd had this kind of very long, this forever, not quite infinite, but long loop, and it comes back in the full track. But we had this, and we're like, okay, for the vinyl, like we still want this track to be long. Can it be really, really long? What can we do? Will it fill that whole end of the side? Maybe. How are we gonna mess with that? In the end, I was really pushing this idea of using a locked groove.
Of course.
Is, and it's the most vinyl thing to do. And actually, I think it's really it's pretty haunting as well, because it's like the tape loops. It's not completely accurate. It's not BPM locked in that way. So you hear that tail off, and you hear it for a while, and then suddenly it just starts infinitely repeating
and slightly off as well. That's what's cool. So it's like nothing else ever. It's like extra little sort of a final syllable that throws it off each time, and a weird click as well every time it goes round. So it has a cool texture of its own.
So you've got to get the vinyl in order to hear this and experience it. But the vinyl, you say, doesn't have David on it.
No, it was sort of one or the other. Yeah, and to be honest, I haven't really figured out like how I was gonna tell people that, but I guess I'm telling them now. So
but what an interesting idea.
And,
but that's purely down to production logistics that you
it was down to production logistics, like, for sure. But then actually I think like as we figured out this alternate version, it also, for all of the reasons that Alex just said, it kind of also like felt right and felt like an equally interesting version that really applies to the song and the album as a whole. So I guess it depends if you like hearing people talk or not. You can kind of choose.
So you can hear the talk streaming. It's digitally,
and on CD.
But not on the vinyl.
No.
So I'm just making sure that I get the right formats.
All these ideas were floating around at the same time.
Yeah.
We knew about setting up the recording with David. We knew about making the song long. We had this thing of forever looping. Even in the David version, in the perfect version, we have the forever loop kind of.
Forever. They are dead. They are gone. No one lasts forever. They are dead.
So Charli comes back, and this very like lone synth comes back. So all those things were just sort of bouncing around at the same time. We're kind of trying to make it all, have its kind of the most confident angle possible on the outro, basically.
It's quite hypnotic, I think. So that is No One Lasts Forever, featuring David Cronenberg. And interestingly, we have started with the last song on the album. So we're going to work our way now backwards to the front of the record. And the next song we're going to look at is Card Declined. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back with that in just a moment.